Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Progressing on with our Space Marine reviews. This time we're going to be looking at the Servitors from the Space Marine Codex. We're going to go through their datasheet, their weapons, touch upon some synergy that they can have. So at the end of the video we're going to be doing a summary of the unit as well as giving them a Planet 40k star rating as well. Before we get into all that, we're going to do a shout out of the day going to Yao Costa for his comment relating to the drop pod. He likes to use his Sternguard veterans with the combi flamers with his Salamander chapter. Also guys, this video is going to be a little bit more trimmed back. I just thought I'd try this out. Give me some feedback on what you think below. There's going to be less slides here on the video. So yeah, just let me know what you think about it. If it makes no difference to you whatsoever, also say that as well. Okay, so the Servitors coming in at 30 point or 2 power level, and you're going to get 4 models. So that virtually costs them 7.5 points per man because you're getting 4 of them. They're going to be coming in the elite section of the codex, which it may not even matter. You'll see why later in the video. So let's move into the keywords of note. So there's not really much here other than the fact that they can go into any chapter and they've got the infantry keyword. They're not core, they're not primaris, none of that jazz. So synergy is going to be few and far between. As for the actual stat line of the models, you've got a movement of 5 inches, weapon skill 5+, ballistic skill 5+, strength 3, toughness 3, wounds 1, attacks 1, leadership 6 and a 4+ save. So obviously not the greatest of stats there, pretty slow, hitting on 5s, very squishy with toughness 3, 1 wound as well, and the 4+ save on top of that, so you wouldn't expect them to last too long in the battle. And of course that leadership 6 as well could be a little bit of a hindrance even if you lose a single model. Onto the abilities of the unit. Now there is no Angels of Death ability here. So there'll be no combat doctrines, there'll be no shock assault, no one thou shalt know no fear. All the regular Space Marine stuff, they've not got it. They've only got an ability called Mind Lock. So when they're within 6 inches of a chapter Tech Marine unit, then this unit's going to have a weapon skill and ballistic skill value of a 4+ instead of a 5+. And the leadership characteristic goes to a 9. In addition, if your army is battle forged, then for each chapter Tech Marine that you've got in your detachment, it will mean that your Servitor unit will not be taking up a battlefield role slot. So even though they're an elite option, they won't be taking up an elite option. So not a bad ability to be fair. 5+ going up to a 4+ at least makes them a little bit more reliable, hitting half the time at least. Leadership going up to 9 means that the issue with the leadership value of a 6 isn't going to be an issue anymore. And then not taking up a slot is really good as well. As for the actual war gear of the unit, every model is equipped with a servo arm. Now that's the standard what they get. There are upgrades which we'll go over later in the video. But let's check out the servo arm to begin. So it's a melee weapon. It's got strength ×2, which would only make it strength 6 because their starting value of a strength is strength 3. It's -2 AP and it's got a damage of 3. However, you've only got 1 attack with this, so with the entire unit you've got a total of 4 attacks with the servo arms. Now the servo arm itself isn't actually that bad, especially with that damage 3 value at the end of that. The only issue I see with this in melee in general is if they're going to get charged, which is likely what's going to happen, then they're probably going to get removed before they get to even fight. But if they do get to fight, 4 attacks hitting on 4s, if you're near a Tech Marine, which you should be really, you're going to get 2 hits, likely wounded on 3s. You should at least be getting 1 wound there. And then with the -2 AP and the 3 damage, the way I see it, you should be getting your points back. Unless of course they get completely wiped out, like I mentioned already, then not so much. Now as for the war gear options, up to 2 models in the unit can have their servo arm replaced with one of the following. So they can either take 1 heavy bolter, 1 multi-melter, or 1 plasma cannon. So let's check out those options and see which one works out best. So the heavy bolter is going to cost you an additional 5 points. It's got a 36-inch range, heavy 3, strength 5, -1 AP, and the damage is 2. So with that heavy 3, on average you should be getting 1 or 2 hits with that. Again with that ballistic value of a 4+. Strength 5 will be wounding other infantry models on 3s or possibly 4s against Death Guard and the like. Then the -1 AP and 2 damage is going to do some work. And if you're taking 2 of these with total combined outlay of 10 points for the 2 weapons, with 6 shots you should expect some damage there. With the multi-melters, they're 15 points each, so it's getting a little bit pricey now. 24-inch range, so only mid-range, heavy 2, strength 8, -4 AP, and the damage is D6 or D6+2 at half range, which will be 12 inches in this case. Strength 8 is obviously brilliant, but with that weapon skill value starting at a 5+, going to a 4+, you've got to question whether you want to be putting multi-melters on this kind of unit, especially at 15 points a pop. Then the last option, which is the plasma cannon, which I quite like this option to be honest. It's 10 points per plasma cannon, so if you're taking 2 that's 20 points. It's got the 2 profiles, the standard being 36-inch range, heavy D3, strength 7, -3 AP and 1 damage with a blast ability. So the really important part there is the actual blast ability. It kind of makes your ballistic skill kind of irrelevant because if you're going up against a unit that's got 6 models or more, then you're instantly getting all your attacks there. And then of course if you supercharge it, you get an extra bit of strength and an extra bit of damage. Now I'd probably always supercharge it because even if you did roll a 1 and it blew up in your own guy's face, it's not the end of the world. It costs 7.5 for the model plus 10 points for the plasma cannon. It's not the biggest loss there. And then you could have that strength 8 weapon like the multi-melter, but it's going to be at 36-inch range and doing 2 damage a pop, not too bad either. So let's move on to some stratagems that are available for the servitors, starting with the steady advanced stratagem. 2 command points, a little bit pricey. You can effectively be treated as if you remain stationary for those heavy weapons. Now you're not going to use this on a servitor unit if I'm honest, I just had to put this in there because it is available to them. And the next one is uncompromising fire for 2 command points. You can do your actions while still firing. Again, as it's 2 command points and not 1, I'd probably just forego the actual shooting with the unit and just do the action. Then the third one is Hellfire Shells. This one will be used with your heavy bolter. You can only make 1 attack with it, but if you score a hit, then the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. If it's a monster, it'll be a flat 3 mortal wounds. Now this one's only 1 command point, it could be worth it. Throwing out some mortal wounds, again, should make your points back. As for some synergy with this unit, it's only really the Tech Marine that we're going to talk about today. And we've already kind of mentioned why already. With that Minoc ability, if you're within 6 inches of the Tech Marine, +1 to the weapon skill and ballistic skill, and your leadership goes to a 9. And of course, they don't take up a slot in the detachment, so it's a very easy, obvious synergy there. But there is another little bit of synergy with that Tech Marine, just the fact that it provides him with a Lookout Sir ability, because your unit's got 3 models within the unit, so therefore Tech Marine won't be a target of range attacks, unless of course they can avoid the Lookout Sir rule. And of course you can use them as a little bit of a guinea pig to make some charges in before your Tech Marine charges, just to eat some Overwatch as well. So quite a quick review today, let's get on with the summary. Starting with the good, there's quite a lot of good to be honest. I wasn't expecting this, but the cheapest chips, 30 points for 4 models. That obviously doesn't include the additional weaponry that you're going to take. And you don't have to actually take anything anyway, you could just have them as stock load, 30 points for the 4 models. There isn't much else in the codex that's this cheap, especially when you're thinking about point scoring units. Now I play Necrons, as a lot of people on the channel do. And we've got our Canoptic Scarabs, they're only 15 points a model, and you get 3 in a unit for 45 points, which is 15 points more than this unit, and they're one of our best units in our codex just for scoring points. Admittedly, they're a lot quicker, and they're a lot easier to hide than servitors, but they can fulfill that same sort of role with point scoring. I just think Space Marine players have the mindset of not actually playing that way, as we prefer our more elite units. So going back to the other points in the good section, they don't take up a slot if you're taking a Tech Marine, pretty nice. You don't want to be taking up all the slots when you want to take other things such as Terminators for example, and as already mentioned, they're good for scoring points. Another way of using them could be to deny deep strike in your own deployment zone in particular, because if you're spreading them out and you've got a few units of these, it's a very cheap method preventing jump pack units, Terminator units and things like that jumping in your back lines from turn 2 onwards. So we've already mentioned in the synergy section that they're a good cheap Lookout Sir ability for that Tech Marine in particular, and they're going to be expendable against Overwatch as well if you want to go charging in with that Tech Marine. The blast with the plasma cannon can avoid that poor ballistic skill value, which means you're still getting your hits in more reliably, and of course supercharge it because there's less of a peril too. Then finally you can improve the weapons with some of the chapters, for example Salamanders with the multi-melter is a good example. They've got plenty of ways to buff those multi-melters. As for some of the bad, they're only 1 wound with toughness 3, so they're very squishy. If they get caught in combat or get targeted, they're not going to last at all. At least it's your cheap stuff being targeted and not your good stuff. They generally hit on 5s unless you're near a Tech Marine, and then it'll be 4s. But even 4s isn't exactly the best weapon skill and ballistic skill value. They've got no Angels of Death ability, like pretty much every other unit in the codex. And they're not caught either, as mentioned already, you're not going to get much with it. You can't just get a captain out or a chaplain out because it's just not going to work. So as for the rating today, I'm actually slightly impressed with them, even though I'm not saying they're the best unit in the codex by any stretch, but I thought these would just be a straight 1-star unit. When you change your mindset and look at them as more of a point scoring unit that can at least get their points back with a tiny bit of outlay with the damage, that actually makes your point expenditure not too bad. Today I'm going to go with the Planet 40k rating of 2.5 stars. Was tempted to go with 3 if I'm honest, but I think when you've got other units in the codex such as intercessors, heavy intercessors, it's very difficult to put them anywhere near that sort of level. So 2.5 today is where I'm going to go. Let me know where you would put them below in the comments. Maybe they're completely trash for you, maybe they're not. It's all about different opinions here on the channel, so get your opinion in below. Also guys, remember to drop a like and sub if you are new. Thank you all for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.